Streaming the truth live from where they create. Sylvia speaks, no filter, no buffer. Courtroom drama couldn't get any tougher.
When the gavel's first bang, to the witness turns tears. Sylvia's lens captures all your hopes and fears. Uploading justice one trial at a time. Tune in every moment, edges sublime.
Welcome to the Sylvia show, oh yeah. She's got the inside scoop, don't you care? With every verdict, the suspense does grow. So hit subscribe, let's start the show. Welcome to the Sylvia show, oh yeah. She's got the inside scoop, don't you care? With every verdict, the suspense does grow. So hit subscribe, let's start the show. Faces tell stories the courtroom can't hide. Sylvia's insights cut through the divide. From jury talks to the lawyer's secret. In Sylvia's world, you know you'll need it. Behind the scenes where whispers are loud, her lens reveals the truth in the crowd. Courtroom secrets laid bare to see. Stay curious with Sylvia Spree. Every objection, every sharp retort, Sylvia's there to give you the report. Exclusive footage no one else can snag. From catchy headlines straight to the tag. Welcome to the Sylvia show, oh yeah. She's got the inside scoop, don't you care? With every verdict, the suspense does grow. So hit subscribe, let's start the show. Welcome to the Sylvia show, oh yeah. She's got the inside scoop, don't you care? With every verdict, the suspense does grow. So hit subscribe, let's start the show.
Faces tell.
Hey guys, hello. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see Melanie's live with Judge, wow, with Attorney Crews, but I wanted to play it and do my reaction to it. I did ask Melanie for permission, and she did give me the permission to do so, and I thought it was an excellent interview. I didn't get a chance to see Cats too much. I watched the beginning of Cats, but then I had things I had to take care of, so I saw more of Melanie's live. So I want to do a reaction on that. And shout out to Kat fulfilling her goal for today in getting $33,000 in the defense fund. Guys, continue to give in the defense fund. Continue to give. I'm not sure exactly what day we're going to do one here, but we are going to follow through with like everyone else. So we're just going to do it a little bit different from everybody because, you know, we're different over here. I wait all weekend for this. Do good. I waited all weekend for this. Do good. Huh? I don't get it. I live for it now. I don't get that message. I don't get the message. I have a question for you guys. I have a question. A burning question that I have on here, and I need to ask you guys a question. Here's my question. My question for everyone in this chat tonight is why we can see and hear the same exact thing, but it's not taken the same way. It's not taken the same. Why can we see and hear the same exact thing, but it's not taken the same way? That's my burning question for you guys tonight. You guys ponder on that. And let me know what you think about this, okay? All right, we're gonna watch this live, and I know everybody's gonna see things differently, and even when he answering the question, everybody's not gonna hear the question the same way, not gonna hear his answer the same way. But why is it that we all can see and hear the same exact thing, but take it in a different way? We don't take it the same way. I need y'all to ponder on that question, okay? All right. All right, here we go with Melanie's interview with Mr. Crews. Mr. Crews, okay? Here we go.
Thank you so much for coming to spend part of your day with me. Today is Monday, February 23rd, 2026. And thank you for your patience. We were just, Ahmad Cruz and I were talking backstage about, you know, the guidelines and the guardrails and the things we can talk about and we can't talk about. And thank you for your patience. There's something about the Georgia versus Edric Fost case that has touched so many of us so deeply. And I've heard from so many of you about how you never knew that you could cry for a man that you've never met, that you could be so deeply affected by a verdict in a case that you knew nothing about until we started watching this trial in the beginning of February. And I think so many of us have been so emotionally devastated by what we watched in an Athens, Clark County, Georgia courtroom. And we fell into this case, and thank you to Law and Crime for choosing to air this trial, because without it being on the air on Law and Crime, we probably never would have known about it. It never would have received the attention. And for the hundreds of thousands of you that watched my trial coverage on this case, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being interested, for being passionate about justice for Edric Fost, and for caring about this case. For those of you not familiar with the Edric Fost case, this case involved a man who was on trial for the murder of Tara Baker, a 25-year-old cold case in Athens County, Georgia. I've heard from many of you who were law students at the same time as Tara Baker, and it was a devastating case for not only Athens, Georgia, but for the family and friends of Tara Baker. And for 25 years, this case sat cold, despite the fact that there were many suspects throughout the years, one of them being Chris Melton, the third-party culprit pointed to at trial, and several other Caucasian males. It is important to note there was not one piece of forensic evidence inside the house pointing to any African-American suspect, but certainly not Edric Fost. And so as we watched this trial, I think there were 8 days of testimony. We watched Ahmad Cruz being hamstrung and unable to really present a defense. And we didn't get.
Melanie is awesome, y'all. She's awesome. You felt the passion in her words in this beginning of this interview.
Through a lot of the pretrial motions, and so he's going to be here to explain them to us. But I just wanted to thank you for being interested. And I had my book here the entire time. I said, this is like us watching To Kill a Mockingbird in real time. This is one of the books that made me decide.
How many people have read that book? Because I had to read it when I was in high school. Did anybody read To Kill a Mockingbird? Did anybody read that book? I know the older folks like me, we all had to read that. I didn't even have, that was in I think, what grade was that? I think that was 9th grade. I had to read that book. Did anybody have to read that book? Coco, I know you did, because you from the New York area. We all had to read that book. Miss Richards said yes. Kim, did you have to read it for school? Yes, Tall Glass read it. It was mandatory, absolutely. Like Macbeth. Macbeth was also a book that we had to read. You read it in the 10th grade. I had to read it in the 9th. You saw it as a movie? Okay. And you had to read it too. Tyler, I know that from old Maryland area. Yep, I believe y'all had to read it too. Anybody from the South, did y'all have to read it? People from the South. I know the northern areas and the West folks had to read it? Anybody from the South, did you guys have to read it? Anybody in the South had to read it? Anybody from the South? Did you guys have to read it from the South? Who's from the South and had to read it? I had to read it. I'm from the South and we read it. Okay, thank you. It was mandatory. Yeah, it was. Did you guys have to read Macbeth too?
To become a lawyer. And Ahmad Crews, in a Facebook post on February 18th, said something that I just find to be so pertinent to what we're talking about today. And he quoted from To Kill a Mockingbird. And that quote reads as follows: "Mockingbirds don't do one thing but make music for us to enjoy. They don't eat up people's gardens, don't nest in corn cribs. They don't do one thing but sing their hearts out for us. That's why it's a sin to kill a mockingbird." And after the guilty verdict on 12 felony counts, we saw Judge Lisa Lott sentence Edric Fost to 2 consecutive life sentences plus 45 years. And our jaws are still on the floor.
Yeah, mine is.
It is my honor, my great honor and privilege to introduce you to the defense attorney, Ahmad Crews. Without further ado.
Yay.
Thank you so much.
Yay.
Hey, Melanie.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. And
I know a lot of people ask me, why don't I do interviews with the attorneys in the cases? Here's why. My position in cases is to be on boots on the ground. I get the privilege of interacting with the attorneys in court. Most people don't have that opportunity. And I try to share the experience that I have in the courtroom. So as far as me trying to get interviews, that's not my forte. I do interviews on attorneys that I have no contact with, attorneys that could give me some insight of certain things. So those that have interviews with those attorneys that's in part of the case, I say kudos to them. And they're bringing you guys stuff from that, people that don't get the experience of being in the courtroom. So that's why I don't do interviews. Because I know folks will be like, oh, why don't you get interviewed? No, I don't do interviews like that. That's why. Okay? I'm a little different. But I will watch the interviews and hear what they have to say.
yeah, as I told you, Melanie, I want to thank you, and I want to thank all the cupcakes for keeping Mr. Faust's spirits lifted. During the trial, as I was explaining to you, one of the things Mr. Faust would come in and say every morning is, "Oh my God, I received these messages from the cupcakes. Do you know who the cupcakes are?" And at the time, I think you may have had 1 or 2 in the courtroom, and it made his day. Every single day leading to the last few days of trial, he would come in the courtroom, and that would be the first thing he would tell us about. And I want to thank you, not only privately but publicly, for putting eyes on Mr. Faust's case. I think, I would have never imagined in a million years that.
And definitely Melanie put an eyes on this case, because if it wasn't me going into Melanie's chat, let me just first shout out to Kendra. She's the one who sent me a message to go into Melanie's chat and hear about the case. Because I knew about the Tara Baker situation and stuff like that, but I never paid attention to it until Kendra asked me to go check it out. And I went to Melanie's chat, and that's how I learned a lot about this case, because of Melanie. So shout out to Melanie for putting a radar on this case.
So, court proceedings. Let me see the best way to say it. That I had an idea how court proceedings went. If I wasn't present, I don't think I would have believed anybody telling me what I experienced. And I think it also goes for me. If you all weren't present, I don't think anybody would have believed what was experienced in the courtroom. So it's very important work that you do. It's very important work that the cupcakes do because they are very hands-on.
Yes, cupcakes are very hands-on. Shout out to cupcakes. They're hands-on in every area, in the courtroom, with the donations, in the chats. I mean, shout out to the cupcakes. I got a chance to meet a few cupcakes. Shout out to them.
And we are thankful. You know, the verdict didn't go the way that we would have liked, and the way that we hoped that it would go. But it's still a journey that we're on, and we appreciate everyone's support.
Well, you have an army behind you, sir, and Edric has an army behind him. And we are, as I'm sure you are, still devastated about the outcome, but we ain't got no quit. So we are here. We are loud. They try to shut me up. It doesn't work. That doesn't work.
Right, Mel.
Absolutely. We need you. We need you, Melanie.
Melanie, that's
you. I've pinned in the there's the QR code in the corner for you at home is the QR code for the appellate defense fund for Mr. Fost. If you have, every dollar helps. Every dollar helps. I've also pinned the link in the chat. People want to know, and you can just tell us real quickly, how you decided to become a lawyer. I saw an interview with you, so I know the answer. But if you want to tell people, what made you decide to become a defense attorney?
So when I was a little kid, I used to see people get arrested all the time. This is a shorter version. I used to see people get arrested a lot, and I used to hear them say, "Call the lawyer, call the lawyer, call the attorney." And I thought lawyers kept people from getting arrested. And that's what piqued my interest in it. But obviously, as I got older and started going through school, I realized lawyers really help people. They truly, truly help people. The interesting thing about criminal defense, which I don't think I said on the interview. So when I graduated law school, I was lucky enough to, once I got back to Georgia, I was lucky enough to get a job with my legal hero. And I talk about him any chance I get, but Attorney Brian Steele. And, you're trying to figure out, all right.
And this is where I can vouch with him. I spent 2.5 years with Mr. Steele. I mean, when I say spend time with him, I mean they used to come into my room where I used to be in for the for media. So I was the only media person that was consistent in the room. I was there by myself. And in fact, most of the judges, when they had like their Wednesday meeting, they would have to ask me, can they have the room, because I was always in that room. So the defense attorney didn't have a room at one point. So they came into that room to have lunch, and I would be in that lunchroom, in that room by myself with them, with all the attorneys. They would sit in the room, and that's how I got to know each and every one of them. I got to know what kind of food Mr. Steele eat. I got to know how many times he brushed his teeth. I mean, all this stuff that I learned while spending time with them. I was there with them every single day. So that's why my relationship with Mr. Steele and the others are so like tight. Like Mr. Steele, it was Mr. Steele, Mr. Weinstein, Mr. Botts, what's the other? Max. They were in that room all the time with him. Now, Mr. Harvey, he didn't come in the room, and Miss Westmoreland didn't come in the room, but it was more of Mr. Steele and Botts and Maxwell and Mr. Weinstein. They would be in the room all the time. So I got a chance to conversate with them, learn a lot about them, and also Mr. Adams. So, and that's why I found out me and Mr. Steele, both from New York, we're both from the Queens area, and I learned that Mr. Adam was a prosecutor in the Bronx. I found out a lot of things about certain people, and I found out we all had a lot in common. That's how we got to be, I got to be really close to them. And that's how I ended up getting everybody's phone numbers, because I used to spend time with them. And with Mr. Hill represented me. I hired Mr. Hill as my attorney when I was going through the stuff that I was going through. So my relationship with them, and I thank God for the time I did spend with them, so I was able to, develop a close relationship. Because Mr. Steele even called me Madam journalist, Madam Journalist, that's what he calls me. And then I get like messages like Happy Valentine's Day from them and things like that. So that's why my relationship is a little bit different from everybody else. I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Which direction do you want to go? And working with him, it is amazing, you know, how much good you could do when you care about people and you care about the work you do. And you really put in the work, because law school teaches you one thing, but I remember my first assignment with Brian. The first assignment he gave me a binder about this thick. It was 25 years of case law. And I had to write a brief on whether or not a plea offer by a prosecutor was a contract. So if the defendant accepted, was it a contract? And that was the first time I've read that much law in my life. And it really set the tone. And by the time I left him, I think it's similar to what coaches say about Nick Saban. They say when they work for Saban, they are so far ahead that it makes it easier for them when they start coaching on their own. When I left working with Brian, I felt like I had a very strong grasp of the proper way to practice criminal defense law. And it starts with caring about the client. I think that's the number one thing. You have to care about the person that you're working with. And if you care, that'll keep you up at night. That'll keep you in the office to 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And you'll ensure that you do everything that you need to do so you don't feel the pain that we all felt if a verdict goes unfavorably, similar to Mr. Faust. That's as a criminal defense attorney, that's the one thing you work so hard to avoid.
And I have seen quite a few of the attorneys in the courtroom who, when they get a loss, how it affects them, and especially the one that cares for their client. You have some individuals, like I can name a couple of them that just don't care about their clients. Once that case is over, they just go on to the next thing. Okay, next. But there are some that actually really, really, really care about their clients, and they feel when they lose a case, it really dampers their whole spirit, and it has to take them a little while to regroup themselves. And that means a lot, especially when you're an attorney. That's why some of them are so like really wanted and really sought after, because they care about their clients. And that's why they stay busy all the time. That's why Mr. Steele stays busy. It's because they have that real passion, real caring for their clients, and it shows in their work, because they don't just give up.
It's the pain, because you forget about the wins. You never remember the wins as a defense attorney. It's the losses that you remember.
Right. And your devotion and your passion for this case and for your client was so palpable. You were respectful, you were prepared, you always had statutes and case law with you. And what we watched, our perception of the way that you were treated in that courtroom, and I know that you can't talk about that, but we were personally offended for you, because we didn't think that you were given a fair shot and that your client was given a fair shot. That's just the way it appeared to the outside observer. And I'm sure that those are things that may become part of your appeal, maybe not. First thing that we would love to know, and that the Cupcakes want to know, is how is your wife doing? You know that she was rushed to the hospital towards the end of the trial. We just want to make sure she's okay.
She is. So I believe it was a Wednesday that she went in. Court was canceled on Thursday. I stayed at the hospital with her Thursday. I wanted to stay with her Friday, and we were contemplating whether I was going to stay with her Friday, because she ended up being admitted. And I told Mr. Fost this, but she told me to leave because she said Mr. Fost needs you. So Friday, that's how I ended up back in court. But luckily, on Friday, she ended up being discharged as well. But she's doing much better now.
Good. We're sending her all the healing vibes, and everyone really, we're glad to hear that. Talk to us a little bit about the things I want to talk about, or the things that were not allowed into trial that you were precluded from bringing into the trial that you really wanted to. Maybe we could start there, because I know that we have a hard stop at 4:30. So the most important things that you were, that you wanted to bring into trial that were precluded during pretrial.
Sure. And I'll speak of it generally. But one, consent was a big thing for us. We wanted to discuss consent. We think that the consent issue was one of the biggest things that Mr. Faust was deprived of putting before the jury. Even if it was slight evidence, we were forbid from putting any evidence of consent before the jury. And two, we believe, and when I say we, I do want to say this. So it isn't just me. I know you all saw me trying the case, but I have an amazing law clerk by the name of Wilson. And I mean, he knew the discovery like the back of his hand. I could text him in court, say, Wilson, this witness is coming. Who is this witness? He'll say, all right, this is the person that, or this is what this witness would testify to. And also Abigail, she was amazing as well, Attorney Hill, and of course my wife. So it was a team of us, and Dr. Dawson, who helped us when it came to jury selection. She's a trial consultant. But when I say we, in regards to Miss Baker's whereabouts the night before her death, we found that very, very, very important, because there was an assumption, because we knew the state was going to put forth that she left the library at, I believe, 9:45, 10 o'clock. And they wanted the jury to assume, we're assuming, that, all right, after she left the law library, she went home. However, law enforcement, you all heard this in court, but law enforcement was aware of a tip that came in a few days later where the young lady said, hey, I believe Miss Baker was at this restaurant, and police never followed up on it. So we also wanted to talk about that to put into context, potential DNA in the mouth, right? How that could come about. But we didn't have opportunity to talk about. Those are the two biggest things that we didn't have opportunity to talk about. The third thing that obviously I was held in contempt for was Chris Melton's reaction to a lot of the evidence that was presented to him in 2024 that he knew about in 2001. As it came out in the trial in 2001, Chris was advised that Ms. Baker had been sexually assaulted, okay? As it came out in the trial, that's when he made the statement, oh, well, I was with her the Saturday before her death. However, in 2024, as Agent Bingham testified to, in 2024, law enforcement met with Chris Melton again. And when they met with Mr. Melton, they told him that we have DNA. And you would expect that, considering that she was sexually assaulted. And we wanted to bring in his reactions. And I think when I made the statement in opening, that Chris Melton's statement was that, well, she must have been with somebody else. I obviously was held in contempt for that, so I knew I couldn't say that anymore.
So and that was, they made that into a 412 issue, which, I mean, in my opinion, and yours, I think as well, it was not a 412 issue. It was a consciousness of guilt issue on the part of Chris Melton.
Correct, because it didn't speak to the sexual character of Ms. Baker at all.
Right. It was Chris Melton's statements at his 2024 interview. We found it interesting also that he called the investigators Liz and Jeremy as if they were on some sort of first name basis, which was odd. And also, we need to explain away your DNA. Help us, we need to truncate your timeline. Right, when the last time you were with Tara Baker, we saw so much reasonable doubt, and I think that's why so many of us were so shocked by the verdict. Why were you not allowed to argue consent? Was that a motion that you made before trial? Was that your 412 motion?
No. So, that's a two-part question. So 412 related to Chris Melton. Okay. The judge's ruling was that consent was a 412 issue. Okay. Our position was that because rape requires without consent, it is not a 412 issue. It is a material defense to the charge, charge of rape. So our stance is that it's a constitutional issue which trumps any statute. You can't say, hey, we have this statute in place, so you can't defend against this charge, which is a material element of the charge, saying that, hey, it's a 412 issue. So one, consent, our argument was that it wasn't 412, but that it went directly to the charge. And two, as I've stated, and of course we respect the court's ruling, 412 is a character evidence rule, right? consent would in no way are we attacking Ms. Baker's character by saying, hey, Mr. Faust is charged with rape. The state has to prove rape. And we want to show evidence, however slight, however strong, that consent existed in this case.
It's important to point out, too, to the viewers who might not know, but none of the DNA that was found was seminal DNA, correct?
So, it's a nuanced answer to that, okay?
Yeah.
It was tested for semen. Test came back negative, okay? The test came back negative. There is no evidence that was presented in the case that there was...
See, that's the thing I don't understand. It was tested and there was no semen found, right? But when the prosecutor did his closing argument, he said that foul semen was found in her mouth. Do y'all remember that?
Seminal DNA. The reason I say that's a nuanced question is because the testing occurred in 2001. I always try to err on the side of caution and just say, hey, there may be new testing. But as far as we know in this case, there's no evidence of semen.
They presented no evidence that it was semen. And
Right.
So what they did present was evidence from 2 oral swabs that they sent to California, right, for presumptive testing. Talk a little bit about that. And I couldn't believe that the young lady who came in, from no shade to her at all, like from California, from Pure Gold, was qualified by the judge as an expert, because we in the Karen Reed trial and many other trials have seen potential experts subjected to days of Daubert hearings that have far more experience than this young lady. Talk a little bit about that and the Lugol's iodine test and whether that's ever been used in court before.
Sure. So I'll say this. The young lady that came to testify, Ms. Lycombe, she was very honest. And as you know, from being in court, sometimes, you may get it, you may not. She was extremely honest, and I appreciate it because she was honest to her detriment. As far as Lugol's, as far as my knowledge, my limited knowledge, I have never, I couldn't find a case, and I've searched. I could not find a case where Lugol's had been admitted in a criminal trial or any trial. As she testified to herself, personally, she had never been called in to testify about Lugol's iodine testing because it's a presumptive test. We have epithelial cells in our mouths and all over our bodies. I'm not aware of a test that could definitively determine where an epithelial cell is from. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So she was honest. Exactly what she said is the truth. She's never testified to it. As you know, I did ask, has it been admitted, or to her knowledge, had it been admitted in any other court in the country? And that was some evidence that we weren't allowed to get in over objection.
And she tested, what was sent her? Just the oral swabs, 2 of them, or just 1 of them?
So she tested 2. She tested 2.
And so they're saying because she presumptively, allegedly found vaginal epithelial cells on one of those swabs, that must have really been a vaginal swab, even though it was labeled oral swab.
Correct.
And so the prosecution jumped to the conclusion that your client's DNA was found in her vaginal swab.
Correct. Now, I will say this, Melanie. The state and the defense, we're always on opposite sides of the coin. We could look at the same evidence and come to 2 different conclusions based on the same evidence. I expected the state's arguments to be what the state's arguments were, right? Because they are trying to prosecute. But I do think it was a lot of doubt with the procedures, a lot of doubt with the quality of the evidence. And I'm sure you've watched a lot of criminal cases, more than me, I'm sure. And typically we've seen cases where we know, okay, this case is ironclad, it is solid. This case supports a verdict, whatever the verdict may be, guilty or not guilty, right?
Right.
This case was a case that I think truthfully had a lot of politics surrounding it, right? Yep. I believe Agent Bigham testified to the bill that was passed and the funding that was given. And then we had the elected DA on the case, right? And that adds a political dynamic to it. And you know, he had to work with what he had. And a lot of this stuff, as you stated yourself, it was interesting. It was interesting. That's the word I would use.
Houston Gaines was in the courtroom every day, from what I understand, and he was present in the courtroom, hugging the family. And I think some people might find that to be something that people have spoken out and said that the jury felt intimidated by him. I don't know that you can speak to that. But when you say that it was political, another thing is that as part of the Coleman-Baker Act, one of the requirements for reopening a case was that there couldn't be any suspect. And so the GBI had to move away from Chris Melton in order to have that case reopened.
So I said this, so I wasn't on social media during the trial. I didn't learn about the Houston Gaines situation until after the trial was over with. And to be quite honest with you, I'm not familiar with Mr. Gaines.
I'm not either. He's a senator or representative. He's a political figure.
Mm-hmm. But I will say a lot has come out, or I've seen a lot on social media since the trial has ended. And I'll say at this stage, I don't have an opinion one way or another. I think the most appropriate thing with some of those things that I've heard, because I've heard, I don't want to call them, what's the best term for them? I've heard statements about jurors speaking out and saying this is how they felt. I've heard the statements you mentioned about the senator coming into the courtroom. Those may be things, or those are things that are properly addressed on appeal, because on appeal, and that's why it's so important that we make sure Mr. Fost has the right appellate attorney. On appeal, a part of those duties when it comes to appealing the case is reaching out to the jurors. If the jurors are willing to talk to the attorney, you can have an investigator reach out to them, or the attorney, him or herself, could reach out to the jurors. And the jurors could say, hey, you know, I considered, if this is truthful, I considered information that didn't come in the courtroom in making my decision, or, you know, I felt a certain type of way, or I had a conversation about things that I should not have had. So that's why the appellate process is so important here, preserving the appellate process and making sure he gets the right attorney.
Right. And so it should be pointed out there's a rumor that Brian Steele is doing the appeal. You hope that he will come onto the team, and funds needed to be raised, obviously, but he's not, as of right, as we sit here today, he's not a member yet of the team. Is that correct?
Correct. The family is working to hire Brian, and I've personally recommended Brian. I think he's the best attorney in the world, in the nation. He does tremendous work. You know, I've seen him work up close. He does tremendous work. He cares about his clients, and he cares about the work he does. So the family is trying to raise the funds to hire Brian Steele. That would be my number one choice for him, because you know, if I was in trouble, or if my family member was in trouble, that is who I would hire without a shadow of a doubt.
Tell me this: had you ever tried a case in Athens, Clarke County before?
No, that was the first time.
We got the impression, big city lawyer coming into small town, that perhaps, you know, they were not accustomed to that, or some wild things happened in the courtroom that I've never seen before. Is this the way it's done in Georgia, or is this just the way it's done in Athens, Clarke County? One of the things was that the witnesses were allowed to remain on the witness stand while the attorneys were arguing about what the witness should and should not be allowed to testify to. I know you made a pretrial motion on that, so talk a little bit about that.
So, one, to your initial statement, it's called home cooking. That's what they call it. When an out-of-town attorney goes into a small town, they say that the attorney gets served home cooking. So I got a lot of home cooking, as you all can see.
Oh, yeah.
As far as the witnesses remaining on the stand, this was an issue that I became aware of during pretrial hearings. And in the judge's response to a lot of my objections or things that I raised would just lead me, as is the case in this trial, to understand the way the judge likes things to go. So in this case, it was something that I brought up. I felt like it was an issue. But the judge didn't. And of course, I have to respect the judge's ruling. So when we had issues, I just addressed them. I addressed them right there, right then. But I do agree. I think it undermines. I think it does hurt the ability to cross-examine a witness.
Yeah, it coaches them on how they should be answering the question, and many of those witnesses were not lay people.
Absolutely.
Another thing that I did not like, like it's about my likes, was the fact that the witnesses were not directed to answer a question yes or no. They could sit up there and elaborate with abandon and explain their answers. That was wild to me.
Sure. So I will say this. In Georgia, a witness can't explain the answers, but they have to give a yes or no first, right? So if I ask a question, isn't it true you were at you're on Melanie Little's show on February 14, 2001 at 3:00. They couldn't just say, actually, I was at, X, Y, and Z with my daughter. I was never at Melanie Little's place. The proper way to do it is to say either yes, can I explain, or no, and then explain the answer.
Yes, but it gives the yes, but, and that's not the way we do things in New York. So that was wild to me. Was there ever a time of death established? Because, the fact that they were hanging their hat in a lot of ways on Chris Melton's alleged alibi that was never really verified, going to Nash Plumbing and then going to the bank and then going on lunch or maybe not. It looked to us like she could have been murdered tragically the night before in the early morning hours of the night. Was it the 19th? And was a time of death ever established? Did the DA ever introduce any evidence to that? Did I miss it?
So circumstantially, okay, and I think we both did circumstantially. When we were examining Detective Ricketts, we talked to Detective Ricketts about the white guy running at 7:45 a.m. So circumstantially, our position was that the murder occurred before 7:45 a.m. The state's position was that our position was multiple African-American gentlemen, but African Americans were seen walking through the neighborhood between 8 and 8:30. So their position is that the murder happened either before 8 or 8:30. Does that make sense? But as far as direct evidence of the time of death, no, the state didn't present any direct evidence of the time of death.
Right. So technically, it could have happened anytime after she spoke to her friend the night before, after the law library, and the morning when she was found. Technically, somebody could have murdered her early and then come back to set the fire.
Absolutely.
I mean, I love what you did with the keys at the end too, because both doors were dead bolted from, somebody needed a key, and that her bedroom door also locked, right? It seemed to us like it was a very personal crime in the way that she was horrifically, brutally murdered. And we just saw so much reasonable doubt. If you can talk about a little bit, your choice not to put on a defense, was that a game time decision? What went into it? There's a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking, people saying that you should have put on a defense expert, a DNA expert. What do you say to that?
Sure. So it was a team discussion. So anytime we make decisions, it's myself, it's my team, and it always includes the client, Mr. Faust. So once the state rested, we discussed what the evidence was, what they established, what they failed to establish, and what our witnesses would testify to. Okay. As far as the DNA expert, we made the state's DNA expert our expert because we believe there was enough questions with the DNA where we didn't need to put an expert up ourselves. But also there was enough affirmative evidence supporting our defense where we had hoped that once we got to the point of the state's own DNA expert saying that Chris Melton's DNA would only last this period of time, so it would not have been present, plus Chris Melton's statement that they did not engage in anal sex, on top of Dr. Falzone's statement that it is clear that she was sexually assaulted anally, we thought the DNA question had been wrapped up with a bow. Right. And of course it's Monday morning. It's 1,000 things now with the guilty verdict. I wish I would have. I probably given my wife 1,001 things that, hey, I should have did this. What if I did this? What if I did that? But if we would have put up a defense, we wanted to bring in the Mexican restaurant evidence, right? And of course, that was televised, so that's public. The state filed the motion, the judge excluded that. So we couldn't bring that in if we put up a defense because we wanted to show, I think the state wanted to give the jury the impression that Ms. Baker, and the only reasonable conclusion is that Ms. Baker went home after she left the library. We wanted to present evidence to the jury, two pieces of evidence. One, that they received a tip right after her death that Ms. Baker may have been out, but also wanted to show that this investigation was not as thorough as it should have been, or as thorough as it was for Mr. Faust. It was very thorough for Mr. Faust. It wasn't thorough before Mr. Faust. But we also wanted to show that law enforcement, they would receive this information and drop the ball. But we couldn't admit that. That was one thing we wanted to admit, that the judge ruled could not come in.
You had a witness, right? You had a witness that was at a Mexican restaurant that night after Tara left the library that heard her or thought she saw her in the bathroom or something?
Correct. She said that she believed that she overheard her in the bathroom. And we were going to get that in through a law enforcement officer because, again, we wanted to show what law enforcement had notice of. So it was a twofold type of examination it was. So, yes, we wanted to get that in through a law enforcement officer.
Okay.
So
were you precluded? Because I know there were witnesses who said that they saw a white man in a white T-shirt and jeans running away from her house in the morning. Were those witnesses available? Were you precluded from bringing any of those witnesses in?
No. So one was available. So this was our concern with putting on the defense, and this is something that will more than likely be addressed on appeal. And this is a discussion we had with Mr. Faust, and this is something I've talked to him about, so I can share this with you. Our concern was with the rulings that we were getting. Our fear was that, all right, so we have this case, the state has put on their case, right? There are holes in the case. They haven't eliminated Chris Melton as a suspect, right? I believe the evidence showed through their own witnesses this, and I guess I could say this, Melanie, their case in chief was really our case in chief. We turned pretty much all of their witnesses into our witnesses. So while they were putting on their case, we were putting on our case with their witnesses. And the biggest issue they had, they could not eliminate Chris Melton. No matter how hard a witness tried to say it's confirmed, you could go in and say, hey, before 9:08 a.m., these things were not confirmed. And they would have to agree because we had documents or we had recordings of saying. So we had the biggest piece of our defense already laid out. Through Detective Ricketts talked about, very briefly, because I think it was a question or two I asked him about it, but he talked about being aware of the tip coming in that there was a white guy running from the back of her apartment. So when we had that discussion, we said, hey, we already have this information it's in evidence. And of course, I forgot about this in closing. I said, hey, don't.
I see everybody's talking about the fund. Let me show you what his family member did say, because I know Mr. Crews cannot give the exact information about the fund. Let me show you what the family member said. This is actually one of his cousins, okay? All right. Since you guys, I was there at the court, so I know who was there. Okay, the family says, listen, please. At this point, an appeal is going to have to take place to overturn this wrongfully convicted sentencing for Edric. Yes, money is being raised, and thank you all that has donated. In order to get the appeal started, we will need $150,000. The goal is $225,000, but $150,000 is to start the appeal. If we could please donate, and she gives out a breakdown. If 1,254 people give $100 towards the appeal, or 2507 gives $50 to the appeal, or 514 gives $25 towards the appeal. Let's get this appeal going. Please share. That's his cousin, okay? All right, guys. You got it? All right. Let me go back to sharing this other thing here.
Sure. But we already have this information into evidence. But if we call her based on the court's rulings, she may rule, and I'm not going to get into it because it's something proper for appeal, but she may rule this way that ends up hurting our case even worse. And I asked them, I said, do you want to take that risk? I said, if we rest now, we may not have to worry about them doing anything else, calling anybody else in. If we go forward, this is the information that we could get in. However, be aware that the judge may make, XYZ ruling, which may come back to bite us. And we sat and we discussed it as a team, and we made the decision that, hey, we think we are where we need to be to move forward with closing, especially considering the rulings the court made regarding our witnesses.
Right, because that would open them up to do a rebuttal case, and then who knows? I mean, it seemed to us like, to me anyway,
you are sharp. I didn't say it. You're very sharp.
I mean, the redirect is supposed to be limited to what was brought out on cross, and it seemed like he could open up all kinds of new doors and talk about all kinds of new things on redirect, that it was like as if the rules of evidence were just abandoned in that courtroom. You can't comment on that, but I can certainly say that that's the way it looked to me. I wanted to talk about your closing. And I just want to say to you that it is one of the best closings I've ever heard. The passion, and we know that you may have been inspired by some other attorneys, which is very common. Attorneys use material from other attorneys all the time. Tell us a little bit about that, and if Alan Jackson was part of that inspiration.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
So my closing argument was a multitude of different people. Okay. And it's a saying, and I know you've heard it before, but the person that stands on the shoulder of a giant sometimes can see much further than a giant. And in the legal community, I always say, don't reinvent the wheel. So Abigail was a big piece of that, and Abigail was a part of our defense team. Alan Jackson was absolutely a big part of that. Brian Steele was a huge part of that. Mr. Faust was a huge part of that, because some of the things that you heard were things that Mr. Fost explicitly wanted to be stated in the closing, and obviously the facts that we got out during evidence. But I probably could take the least amount of credit for the closing. Abigail Wilson, Mr. Fost, Alan Jackson, Brian Steele, those are the individuals that inspired the closing argument. I'm just the person that was speaking, but those individuals are the ones that put everything together.
Were you familiar with the Karen Reed trial before you tried this case?
I was not. I forgot about a person. Dr. Dawson, no house, no Faust.
Yeah.
Was actually from a member of the defense team.
Well done.
But I was not. So the cupcakes, and I want to thank them as well. I thanked you, and I probably thanked you 10 times since we've been talking. But
no need.
I wasn't on social media, but I was receiving a lot of emails to my office. And one of the things that Cupcakes kept saying was, this reminds me of the Karen Reed trial. This reminds me of the Karen Reed trial. This reminds me of the Karen Reed trial. So when I sat down to write the closing, I said, all right, we know what evidence we want to talk about, but we need to make it compelling. We need to tell a story. We need to keep the jurors engaged. So I said, well, let me be resourceful. Let me at least look at the Karen Reed trial. Let me go to the closing, since we were at the closing stage of our case. And when I heard it, I said, oh my goodness, this is what everyone was talking about when they said it. So it was bits and pieces from his closing argument. I think he did a wonderful job. I wish we could have got the same verdict from Mr. Faust that Ms. Reed received, but it was a true to life just statement that he made that fit this case perfectly. It fit the case perfectly. It fit the case perfectly. That's the best way I could put it.
And if you're anything like me, you were writing your closing argument like during the entire trial, because you were ready. I felt like Mr. Yalaman was completely blindsided by the fact that you didn't put on a defense, and he had to run out and quickly write his closing during the charge conference, because his first initial, if you want to even call it that, portion of a closing had nothing to do with the evidence. And he did not even deliver his closing until after your closing, which I found interesting too, when it's supposed to be a rebuttal closing. Is that a weird Georgia rule? Is that a weird Georgia rule?
So typically in Georgia courts, I've seen it both ways. I've seen it where they've rebutted. I've seen it where they've added some facts. I think what makes it unique in this case and more polarizing in this case is the outcome of the case, where now everything seems, hey, this was, this wasn't appropriate or this wasn't appropriate. But with closing, I've seen it both ways in Georgia.
Well, when he said, pistol whipping his wife on a cruise, that brought a little bit of an outburst from the gallery. And we know that Mr. Fost had a lot of support in the courtroom.
So he didn't say that. I think that came from the victim impact statements, the pistol whipping of the wife. But that
was that where it came from? Right. Okay.
That wasn't true, though. That is not
true.
Never occurred. No.
Okay. There was something else he did in his closing, though. Oh, in the rebuttal closing of his, he burden shifted to you. I thought that was improper, but that may be an appellate argument, so we won't talk about that. Talk to us about Mr. Fost. Tell us about Mr. Fost, because we didn't get to learn a lot about him during the trial. And I felt like a lot of the prosecution of this case, first of all, was in defense of Chris Melton. Obviously, there was maybe 8 or 9 days of testimony, and 7 or 8 of them they never even mentioned Mr. Fost's name at all. But we didn't get a lot. And I felt like that part of that was by design to make him testify. And I feel like they sort of pushed you a little bit, to that the only way that you could bring consent into the trial based on the court's prior rulings was to have him get on the stand and talk about it. Tell us about Edric Fost. Who is he as a person? What do we need to know?
Absolutely. And I'll start with this. Mr. Faust is out of all the clients that I've ever sat with, he is one of the strongest people I've met mentally. He is hilarious, number one. To be on trial for his life, he would be the person breaking the ice when things got a bit tense. But to give you some background before this case, Mr. Faust was a business owner. So he owned a pressure washing business in Athens. And which is ironic, he worked for let me use the right word. He would go out to the sheriff's office, and they had a camp, like a prison camp across the street from the sheriff's office. And he would detail the police officers' cars before he was arrested. He detailed HOAs. He worked for HOAs, obviously private individuals. He had great prices, by the way. But he was a guy that was a business owner and really trying to build his business. When he was arrested, something that didn't come out, when he was arrested, he was at Walmart getting juice, right? He had just finished working. He was at Walmart getting juice in his company truck. But he was a father, right? I don't think that didn't come out. But he was a father. He was someone that, and I think we said this in closing. We might have said this when I was speaking on his behalf. But Mr. Faust was a person that if you were new to Athens and you met Mr. Faust, he would ensure you had a good time. He was dating a young lady by the name of Miss Linda. They were in a great relationship. I believe they were on the path to get engaged. He was staying with her. And I think one of the biggest things in this case, a lot was made about the 350 address. I'll say that 350 Cooper Road address.
Yes.
And I believe I addressed it in closing. It's similar to, like I have an uncle, right? And I send everything to his house. I don't stay there, but if he asks me where I stay, and especially if I'm uncomfortable, I'm just going to say I stay at my uncle's house. It's just his permanent address, right? Not a place that he lays his head, because obviously I have a home elsewhere where I lay my head. But Mr. Faust, in all, if I was to sum it up, business owner, father, hilarious guy, a guy that you could really sit and talk to. But he was a playboy. He was an admitted playboy. Even in the interview with law enforcement, he told them, I've had multiple women in my days. The unfortunate part about this case, a lot of times when we get clients, they're calling us and we could have them in the office. We could sit down, we could talk for hours and hours and hours. The unique situation in Mr. Faust's case is that his case file was 25,000 documents. Okay. It was 25,000, on top of that, 25,000 files. So, the files might have 10, 15, they might have videos recorded in them. And there was hours on top of hours on top of hours, 25 years worth of recordings. So in Mr. Faust's case, we didn't get to spend a lot of time at the jail because I believe we received discovery around, at least full discovery around April. The judge specially set Mr. Faust's case for trial. I believe it was originally in October, November, and we received the continuance to February. So majority of our time in Mr. Faust's case was trying to get through the evidence in this case. It wasn't until I was able to get down in Athens, and we would meet, we would do Zoom meetings, things of that nature. It wasn't until I was able to get down in Athens that me and Mr. Faust, we were actually able to sit down, look at each other eye to eye, and start talking. He is, what's the word I'm looking for? He's not a perfect person. None of us are perfect. But he is unapologetically himself. And as a criminal defense attorney, I typically get, it's a saying that family law attorneys receive clients, when they have their clients, they're on their worst behavior. And when criminal defense attorneys, we get our clients, they're on their best behavior. Mr. Faust was unapologetically himself. And it made it, it was easy to advocate for him because he gave you exactly who he was. He wasn't trying to hide it. He was very straightforward with you, and I really appreciated that. But, I think one of the things, a lot of people that support him, they don't know him. But I hope one thing that people take into account, when this case started, the allegations were so horrific that there was no one. Miss Linda was, I can say that, but there was two people, Miss Linda and Miss Sherry. But outside of that, there was no one really supporting Mr. Faust. But once they heard once they started hearing the evidence in this case, and people realized, hey, despite what I'm hearing on the news, this is the Mr. Faust I know, and the evidence is sounding consistent with the Mr. Faust I know, people started coming out and supporting him. The courtroom on his side, well, the courtroom in full was kind of packed, but a lot of people started coming out and supporting him, just showing the type of person that he was. A lot of law enforcement officers supported Mr. Faust because they knew him from his time in Athens and working. Last thing I'll say about Mr. Faust, which is interesting, Mr. Faust, before this case, was a huge supporter of law enforcement. And one of the things that blew his mind was that, and he told me this when we were in one of our meetings, was that, man, I'm not a perfect person. I have always trusted law enforcement. But when this happened, it blew his mind. He couldn't understand it for the life of him. But he always said, they don't have any evidence on me. I didn't do this, so I know I'm going home. So when we get a verdict similar to the verdict that we got, it shocked everybody because as an attorney, as you know, Melanie, we have to go off the evidence. That's the only thing we go off of. We have to go off the evidence. And having him telling me that and also working the case, it's shocking, still mind blowing.
And he had been in the system, right? So he had been in the system before. They had his DNA since at least, when was his first felony conviction? 2001, or was it before that? That's when
and this public record.
It's in the court docket. You can see it. It comes up.
Correct. And that was one of his concerns. If they've had my DNA for so long, why all of a sudden is it coming up now? And that's why part of our argument was, can you really trust this evidence?
If he was in CODIS since before 2001, then his DNA should have come up right away because there were unknown male contributors, right, when they tested it back then. But they also said that they had been continuously testing. I think there was more testing in 2008. You can correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe in the years following. They would have gotten a hit right away. And that's why I think so many people are grappling with this. Is it new technology? Is it they didn't retest when they said they did? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't want to speculate. But I do think in closing, I gave you everything that I felt that I legally could discuss. I discussed it in closing. There were absolutely, I had questions. I had a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm. What are the next steps for this case? Do you have to make a motion for a new trial before you can file a direct appeal? How does it work in Georgia?
I do. So we're trying to get that. I'm back in the office today, so we're trying to get that done by today or tomorrow. So the very first thing is the motion for new trial. But the most important thing for Mr. Faust, and I will always say this, and I don't mind saying it publicly. The quality of attorney is always very, very, very important. Because you can have a trial with 1,000 issues that come up, 1,000,000 issues. Let's say 1,000,000, just to make it more dramatic. You can have a trial with 1,000,000 issues that come up. But if you don't have an attorney that addresses the right issues or look at the right issues or have the experience to look at the right issues, we can have a conviction that stands as opposed to a conviction that's overturned. The reason, I recommend Brian is because one, I've worked with him, but two, I've seen his work and the world has seen his work, right? Everything that everybody saw on the YSL trial, on the Diddy trial, these were things we were seeing 10 years ago for people that did not have, they were just regular folks like, me and you. He was doing the exact same thing. So what he was doing in the dark eventually came to the light with the clients that he had. For a case like Mr. Faust that took numerous weeks, the file is going to be huge. Yeah. Right. The transcript is going to be huge.
And expensive.
Very expensive. And I know I filed a lot of motions pre-trial, and we had, I believe, 3 days of motions hearings. So it's going to be huge. But when you see something that gets you emotionally riled up, gets you upset, similar to this case may have gotten people upset, you want to make sure.
Hey, Derek, this is not live. This is an interview that Mel did earlier. This is not live. I know you're asking questions. This is not live. This is me doing a reaction to the interview that was done by Mel.
That if this is something you want to see righted, because the system works, right? We have different levels. The system works. If this is something wrong that you want to see righted, you have to make sure that you have the right person in place with the experience to right those errors. If they are errors, the court may say they are, the court may say they are not. But if they are errors, you want the correct person in place to do that. I trust Brian. I would trust him with my life. He's taught me everything I know. If you all felt that I represented Mr. Faust well, it's really a copy and paste of everything I've seen Brian do. He's my legal hero. And I think with Mr. Faust's case, he knows exactly. He has experience. One, he will know exactly what to do with it, and it's well worth it. I ask all my clients this: what's the price of a life? Right? It's priceless.
Can't put a price on it.
Correct. I have 2 children. Lord forbids my child is in the hospital, and the doctor says, "Hey, Mr. Crews, to save your child's life, this is what it's going to cost." Yeah. We're going to sell. We're going to do everything we absolutely can. And that's the same thing with a criminal appeal, because a conviction, especially a life sentence, is similar to a death. It's a social death.
Oh yeah.
Right.
2 life sentences plus 45 years.
Absolutely. It is a social death. So in this case, just seeing what we all saw, what we all experienced, you just want to make sure you have the right person that puts their hands on it. And it's a lot of great appellate attorneys, right? I can name a few, but I think we all would agree, even those attorneys would say, all right, let's start with Brian and see if we could get Brian to fix this issue for us if we can.
We all saw him handcuffed in court, and I was saying throughout your trial that if I were you, I would have been in handcuffs. So that would have been me doing my best, Brian, feel like, okay, take me in. Thank you very much. Somebody wanted to know here how you keep your cool. How do you keep your cool? It's hard.
So I'll say this: when you're responsible for somebody's life, I could not make it about me and someone else. I had to always keep in mind that this is about Mr. Faust and this is about Mr. Faust's life. I think the last thing that any client will want to see is his attorney just lashing out at the judge or lashing out at the prosecutor. And I'll be honest, I think in any case, prosecutors get frustrated with defense attorneys. Defense attorneys get frustrated with prosecutors. But at the end of the day, I have somebody's life in my hands, and I want to be credible. I want to stay credible. And I don't want to do anything that can make, our situation any worse. It wasn't a great situation, but I didn't want to do anything that could make it any worse. So my professional responsibility to my client is how I maintain just staying professional and respectful.
Yeah, this is a great question. I don't know if you can answer it because it may affect a further trial, but if you can answer, did Tara and E know each other? Thanks, Noni.
So that'll come up on appeal. That may be something that I'll leave that for appeal. That'll have to come up on appeal.
Okay, talk to me about the phone records that you wanted to get in that couldn't come in. What was the evidentiary value of those phone records? Whose records were they? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So I talked about it a little bit in opening. So the phone records, we were going to use the phone records to establish the nature of the relationship between Chris Melton and Tara Baker. Okay. And this isn't anything hidden. Like I said, I talked about this in opening.
Were they Tara's or Chris's phone records?
They were both.
Oh, you had both. Okay.
I had both. Correct. The phone records would have established that Tara and Chris did not talk on the phone. When they talk, it wouldn't be long conversations. They would typically be short conversations. You would see the period of time shortly before her death that they stopped talking. I believe I mentioned, I want to be cautious. I don't know if I mentioned it in the opening, but there was a period of time. I'll just say it was a period of time that they were not talking. Okay.
Right.
But the day before her death, you see these flurry of calls, and they are long calls. And then the next day she passes away. We're going to use that in closing to discuss or to add to the to our theory that this shows that there was tension in the relationship.
Yeah, I mean, we have so many survivors and of domestic violence in the chat here, particularly, and so many people know that the hardest, most dangerous time for a victim is when you're trying to leave a relationship.
Right.
And so many people on this channel understood that and could see the breakdown in the relationship. And I felt like Valerie was a really good witness for you. And you're right. I mean, a lot of the I want to say Commonwealth, but a lot of the state's witnesses turned into your witnesses. Valerie was very honest. She was like, yeah, they were breaking up. You know, she didn't want, she didn't, in so many words, I'm summarizing, she was leaving him. She didn't want to be with him. She didn't sign up to be with, not that there's anything against plumbers, but she was dating a pre-med student. He dropped out of school and then he sort of chased her to Athens. And it felt like there could have been some stalking going on there. And the fact that the laptop was never found, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did law enforcement ever try and get into Tara's communications? Because I remember back in 2001, AOL Messenger or AOL AIM chat rooms were a big thing. They could have been communicating in other ways. Did they ever find her text messages or his location data or anything like that in the investigation?
So I won't answer that because that didn't come out in trial.
Okay.
If it's after the appeal process, there's a
Fair
retrial. That will be something that's addressed on the public.
Okay. And because we were all wondering, we were all screaming, where's her AOL AIM messages that could have showed a breakdown in the relationship and things like that. The Cupcakes also want to know how they can help. And they write to E in prison. And if they can, and it's allowed, just ask your legal assistant to send me his address. And they like to send letters and notes of encouragement and what we can do to help, in addition to donating to the appellate fund, which is linked in the corner.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I talked to the family about that. Jail ATM is where everything goes from what the family, he has a tablet and they send everything through the tablet. So they need a jail ATM account and they could search up his name to establish as far as the address.
Okay, I'm going to show you guys what this jail ATM look like, okay? I'm going to show you what the website look like. This is it. This is the jail ATM right here, right? You're going to go here. And his name is right here. Edric Fost. Let me show you how you get into it. Okay, you're going to go straight into here, right? You're going to go email inmate, right? When you go there, you're going to pick Georgia. Then you're going to pick Clark Clark County Sheriff, right? And then his ID is 1977, right? You click search and his name pops up. Okay? Okay, guys, that's how you do it. You see how you do it, guys? All right. So, you know, I like to hands-on stuff for you guys. Hold on. You go back to Melanie Crews.
Address. I will have Abigail look into that. I'm not, and we'll have to check to make sure that the jail could take that they'll accept legal mail from.
Okay, so there's another way. There's a way for him to get email on this tablet, is what you're saying?
Jailatm.com is what the family explained to me.
Okay, and people can put money on his commissary and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Through that as well.
Right. They also put money on his commissary. But I would say this. I think I think we all agree on this. The most important thing is getting Mr. Faust home as soon as possible. If there are some extras, I'm sure he wouldn't be upset if you said, "Hey, I wanted to send you something, but I sent it to help you get your appellate attorney."
Right. That's amazing, because people are saying, does he have an Amazon wish list? I mean, I don't know what's allowed and what's not allowed. We have, in other cases, there was a young girl, 14 years old, tried as an adult in Mississippi. She was sentenced to life without the possibility of ever having parole. And she had an Amazon wish list, and people could only send her books. And so that's what the Cupcakes were doing in that situation.
Oh, wow. So I don't know about an Amazon wish list. That's nothing him and I ever discussed. But I will do this. I know when I checked with the family about an address form, jail ATM was what they directed me to. I have Abigail reach out to the jail today.
Okay.
I haven't reached out to the jail today, and we'll get you that information regarding mailing. And if physical mail is allowed, we will absolutely get you that information. Sorry for not coming.
Oh, no, not at all. So many people feel helpless. I didn't even think about this before. Thank you, Mr. Cruz says, music to my soul. You're able to speak to Rule 22 being used to prevent the media from covering juror reactions, note-taking, etc. I
am. So in a trial, you typically don't want the juror's identity exposed. So that was proper procedure. Now, Melanie, you know better than I, because you watch more trials than me, but I am not aware of media ever being able to show jurors and their reactions and things like that.
Oh, no, not show them, but just to say, like, the jurors.
I had an account already on Tyler. I had an account already, because I deal with a lot of different cases and stuff. So I already set up an account from previous cases that I've been working on of individuals that are in the system. Okay, let me go ahead and finish it off. All right. This is a question regarding the Rule 22, guys.
Seemed engaged today. There's one juror who particularly pays a lot of attention and takes a lot of notes. There's another juror who seemed to be sleeping all day. The jury seemed to be more engaged when Mr. Cruz got up and spoke than when the DA got up and spoke. And that's always been fair game. And my reading of Rule 22 has to do with recording. That media is not allowed to record in the courtroom. There's one pool camera and nobody can bring in devices unless they're media, but never. And the other thing is that the jury list has been public all along, which I didn't know. And I would not encourage anyone to go look at or publish, because I think the jurors need to be protected here. But her ruling was that even media in the courtroom could not talk about, not to identify the jurors by name or anything, but what their reactions to certain things were, whether they seemed engaged. It seemed to me to be an overreach of Rule 22. And there were certain people who were banned from coming into the courtroom for the verdict.
Mm-hmm. So I'll say this with Rule 22. I don't know about the banning issue, so I won't speak to that. But the courts do give wild latitude to the judges to control the conduct of parties and individual spectators in the courtroom. So as far as I know, that would have been within the court's wide discretion.
Yeah, they do have wide discretion. Another thing, I know that you made a motion to recuse the judge before the trial. I don't know if you want to get into that at all, but what I just learned from looking at Mr. Faust's history in just Athens, Clark County, was that Judge Lott had sat on some of his priors. And so I found it to be interesting that then she would also sit on this trial. I don't know if that was part of your motion to recuse or not, or if you can speak to that. Was she the judge to hear that motion?
She was not. She was not.
Okay, because in a lot of
judge
states,
was recused.
the judge does hear their own recusal motion, which is wild. So there was another judge who heard it and decided that she did not need to be recused.
Correct.
Okay. Was there ever any toxicology done on Tara? Heather wants to know.
That didn't come in during the trial, and because of the pending appeal, I won't make any comment on it.
Okay. Very interesting. At Ford Dread wants to know, can you ask Mr. Crews if his trial professor got him ready for this judge?
This is interesting. So you're going to learn something about me only my wife knows.
Okay. It'll be
When I was in law
secret.
school, I was in trial advocacy, and I had this professor, and every time I would come to class, she would yell, scream. She would just sometimes say the most outlandish stuff. And it was so bad, I wanted to drop out of trial ad. Okay, it was that bad. And I asked her about it. I talked to her about it, and I said, why do you treat me so poorly? Right? I'm like the only student you single out. And she told me, she said, I never forget this. She said, you're like my little Allen Iverson. You have so much potential. But when you leave here and you start practicing, there are going to be judges that are going to do way worse than what I'm doing. And I want you to be prepared for it. And sure enough, Melanie, anytime it gets difficult in the courtroom, I go back to trial ad and I say, all right, I've dealt with this before. So it makes it very easy for me to just block it out and focus on what I have to focus on. So yes, my trial advocacy professor, in a very unique way, prepared me for what I may experience practicing law.
You want to shout her out now that you're going to be a huge success and a big star, in my opinion?
I'll give a shout out to Coach Harden.
Oh, I love that. Jaded for Justice wants to know, what about the lawyer in the firm that she worked at? Was he cleared? Do you think he could have done it? The laptop would fit for him. To point out, there were many suspects that were all white guys. One was in her study group at law school. There was a lawyer, I think, that she worked with, and there was like one other guy. Well, I don't know if you can speak to that.
I do want to say this. That was something that we also wanted to bring in during the case that was prevented. But there was a gentleman, and I won't get too deep in it, that was treated very poorly during this investigation. He had nothing to do with nothing. He was just treated terribly during this investigation. And, we wanted to discuss it a little bit because it was relevant to the police's actions in this case, but also give him some form of just clearing his name, because I think it really just, I can only imagine if I was in his shoes.
If you want to say his name, you can. If you want to say his name, you can.
I'm not sure I can.
Okay.
So I want to be cautious, a bit conservative. But as far as other suspects, I know during the hearings that were public, the state mentioned excluding other suspects. So there were other suspects. Obviously, you all would know that based on them wishing to exclude them. But we think the evidence was strong enough for Chris Melton. And as I told the judge at sentencing, everything I said in the trial, I always speak the truth. Right? I would never come into court and lie, because one thing that happens, clients change, but we still have to have relationships with the judges. We still have to have relationships with the prosecutors, if there's one to be had. But my reputation is huge to me. So anytime I advocate for a client, I want to advocate the truth, and the truth that is supported by the evidence. Everything that you all heard and saw in trial was supported by the evidence. Not one time did I try to stretch the truth in any type of way. Any question that I asked, I had a good faith basis to ask it based on the evidence. in this case. And, you know, I truly believe, and I'm not the jury, so my opinion doesn't matter. But I truly believe that the evidence was overwhelming that Mr. Melton was involved in Ms. Baker's death. And that's just based on the evidence. I don't know. I wasn't there personally. Nobody in the courtroom was there personally. But based on the evidence that, you know, was collected over the course of the 23 years before Mr. Faust's arrest, the evidence strongly supported that Mr. Faust was not the right person to be on trial. And I think specifically the anal DNA, I think that was the smoking gun in this case. When the DNA expert said, look, it doesn't last for 5 days. I think the highest we got was to 3 days. One of the studies said 2 days, right? But we said, all right, let's be fair. We are aware of this 3-day period. The highest is 3 days, right? With Dr. Falzone saying that she was sexually assaulted anally. Mr. Faust's DNA is in there. Chris Melton's DNA is there. So, yeah, I think it was very clear, regardless of the other suspects, the evidence that we had, that I saw, that Wilson saw, that Abigail saw, that Dr. Dawson saw, that Attorney Hill saw, it was pretty clear to us that this evidence supports that, hey, you know, this is the wrong person. And lastly, on that point, Melanie, one of the things that I think, you know, we failed at, and obviously I'm not perfect, no one is, we all knew that in order to get Mr. Faust home, we had to get justice for Ms. Baker, and we had to get the truth out. And that's exactly what we tried to do this entire trial, to show the jurors, even the state, even though it's their evidence, the state, the judge, even the family, because they are the, you know, they've been suffering for 25 years with no answers, right? They've been suffering for 25 years with no answers. Our job was, hey, first and foremost, we have to get justice for Mr. Faust, but in order to get justice for Mr. Faust, we have to give the truth to the jurors. And that's what we tried to do.
Yeah. And justice for Tara Baker is not incarcerating an innocent man.
Correct.
Go on.
Well, I was just going to say, one of the things that a wrongful conviction does, if it's wrongful, of course, that's not my call. I don't make that decision. But you never want to dishonor the memory of somebody just to say, hey, we have somebody.
Right. 25 years on the job, of former NYPD for 25 years. He says, I spent 25 years as a police officer and a detective with the NYPD, and I've never seen an investigator help a witness change an alibi like a certain GBI investigator. Up here, we would be demoted.
And thank you for your service. Thank you for your service.
Ashley wants to know if you've ever practiced in front of Judge Whitaker. I don't know what that means.
No, but I would love to. She has a very stellar reputation. Very stellar reputation.
I wanted to tell you that one of the cupcakes, her name is Caroline. Her father was a famous trial attorney who represented E during his.
Guys, I want to tell you guys are doing awesome so far. So far, since you guys been on here, we have collected $1,147. You guys have been rocking. I've been checking it as you guys in here. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's see if we can get it up to 35,000. We at 34,673 right now. You guys are rocking it. You guys are the bomb. Okay.
2001 bar fight.
No, Kat and William, that team, they did a lot. They did a great amount. Now let's see how much we can get up. Okay. So we're at 34,673 right now. They had left us at 33,526, and now we're at 34,673.
Right.
Really?
It's her dad. Yeah. He's sadly passed. But she said that, you know, my dad was the one who represented him in that 2001 case. And he got E. Everyone calls him E, right? We can call him E. A great deal. I think it was time served and whatever else. But she became a believer by the end of this trial in his innocence. And so shout out to Caroline if you're out there.
I'm sorry for the loss, but thank your dad for his tremendous work.
This goes into the things we were talking about backstage, and I don't think you can comment on it, but there has been some things out there on the Facebook Any truth to the jurors feeling intimidated, number one. Other people want to know if the jurors reached out to you, number two. And have you heard that a juror said they just went with guilty because they were tired and wanted to go home?
So as far as a juror being intimidated, I think that will be, not even I think, that'll be something addressed on appeal. As I mentioned,
Right.
A part of the appellate process is reaching out to jurors. And if they're willing to talk about what led to their decision or anything that may have happened that should not have happened, that's where that information will come out. The second question you asked me, can you ask me that again, Melanie?
You think I remember what it was? There's rumblings about whether the jurors felt intimidated, whether they were tired and wanted to go home, that several jurors reached out to this one gentleman on Facebook who has a page, and he spoke freely about what all the jurors said to him, that they were intimidated by Houston Gaines being in the courtroom. They felt that if they came back with...
Woo, y'all, we at 703 now. Woo, we need 297. Woo! It means 297. Come on, y'all, let's do this.
The not guilty verdict, there would be, ramifications. And that, one of them was just tired of fighting and said, I just want to go home. But again, similar to what is happening in Murdoch, any of these issues would have to be brought in a post-trial motion, I would assume, and you can't really talk about it. Sorry if this was already addressed. Andrea says, but did you consider for your opening, Edric Fost was framed? That was a Karen Reed line, by the way. One of Karen Reed's trials. She was tried twice.
So I would say this. Was it a thought that crossed our minds? Yes. But I chose to walk the delicate balance because there were a lot of things that a lot of ways I could have framed the case that I said, all right, let me err on the side of preserving credibility because I didn't want to alienate any of the jurors. But did that thought cross my mind? Yes. And especially at the end of trial, it was very strong because from the, you know this, Melanie, you never know. You have the discovery, you have the evidence, but when you get in trial and it starts, you never know what's going to come in and what isn't. And you also, because we learned some stuff, we had this discovery that we looked over multiple times, but we ended up hearing things for the first time in trial that, blew our minds. Like, oh my goodness, this is extremely helpful for us. So by the end of the trial, I absolutely had those thoughts, but I did not want to, because I believed our theory was so strong, I did not want to start, let me see the best way to say it. I didn't want to alienate any jurors. I thought our theory was very reasonable. I thought it was simple enough to understand, especially when we explain reasonable doubt. I thought it was elementary, but
that is a tougher thing for a jury to swallow, is that someone was framed or law enforcement is, corrupt, because a lot of people don't want to believe that. And so I think that your theory of the case and sticking with how much reasonable doubt there was, probably was a better fit for this particular jury. And nobody knows better than you because you picked the jury. So, you've got more insight into that. Patty said, or Petty Patty.
You mentioned something. Can I say this?
Sure.
Okay, we need $272 more to get to 35,000. We need 272, y'all. We can do this.
The biggest thing I learned from this case that I would like everybody to take from Mr. Fost's case, jury service is extremely important. Representation by your peers is extremely important because we all have different backgrounds. We all have different experiences. And I'll go back to the framed example you used. There are some jurors where it is easier for them to accept a framed narrative. Mm-hmm. There are other jurors where no matter, they could have a person on camera placing drugs in a person's car and they will refuse to believe that a person was framed. The best way to avoid situations similar to Mr. Faust, if you say, hey, this is terrible, I feel strongly about it, is to be involved in the system. I know jury service is inconvenient. I know, people have to take off of work, they have kids, and that's why we appreciate them so much when they do it. But jury service is so important. I've heard so many voices. I've had so many people reach out to me post-verdict. But every attorney will tell you this. We would love to have you all when we're picking our jury, because we only could pick from the panel that we have, right? We may love to have you, but if you're not in that room when we're picking a jury, or if you don't show up to jury service, no matter how much we want you, we would never be able to get you on the jury.
Yeah, that's great. I say that all the time. People try and get out of jury duty, and I say, serve. We need people like you on a jury. We need people who understand reasonable doubt. We need people who understand the burden of proof is with the prosecution. We need people who understand that the defense doesn't have to say a word. The defense doesn't. You have the right to a fair trial, and you have the right to not get up on the stand, and that you have the presumption of innocence until if and when they prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you're guilty. That is the toughest and highest burden that there is in our system. And
Absolutely.
It's not, he could have done it. Maybe he did it. I think he could have done it. That's not good enough.
Correct.
It's not good enough. And I think there are also some jurors who believed in your case, particularly maybe, that DNA is the gold standard. And so if his DNA was there, then he must have done it. And not understanding the quadrillion, Chris Melton's DNA should have been there. He was her boyfriend. I was so personally offended by that. And so many of my viewers were offended by that, as if some man who's your borderline fiance has every right to have his DNA wherever he wants. That was so offensive to everyone. I couldn't even believe she said it. I want to be respectful of your time, and it's 4:30 and I know you have to go. So if there's anything you would like to say in closing, I just want to say thank you for your service. Thank you for showing us what a passionate and zealous defense attorney looks like, and someone with morals and ethics and class and true passion for the work that you do. Thank you so much, because we really needed to see that, even though the verdict was something none of us could have predicted. Thank you for your service and for your passionate dedication to your client. And we're just here to get justice for Edric Fost, and we are not going to shut up about it.
Absolutely. And I'm with you all 110%. I thank you all for being behind.
Guys, we have not moved within the last few minutes. We're still at 34,728. We need 272 more to go, y'all. 272 to get to 35,000. Remember, the gold, we still have that halfway goal of 150. It's a long way to go. We don't even have one third of it. We don't even have one quarter. We don't even have that. Come on, y'all. We could do this. We could do this. We got 10%, I think. We could do this.
Mr. Faust. And I know you thanked me, but I cannot take credit for anything. Mr. Faust was a big part of his defense, obviously. Abigail, Dr. Dawson, Wilson. I always got to thank Brian, because he's taught me everything I know. Brian Steele, Brian Tevis. And I also want to thank GACTA. I don't know if there is any Georgia attorneys listening to this, but when I was held in contempt, I reached out to GACTA, which is the Georgia Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. And not only did they give me one attorney who was amazing, he filed the notice of appeal on my behalf, but they ended up giving me a second attorney. And they were shocked by what was going on. But I will say this: when you're in a courtroom, and this is for criminal defense attorneys, when you're in a courtroom, you feel like you're on the island. GACTA, if you're not involved in GACTA and you're in Georgia, please join GACTA. To all the cupcakes that have stood behind Mr. Faust, that have encouraged me when I was at my lowest, because some days I would leave the courtroom and I'm trying to check emails, and I would have this really nice message from a cupcake from Australia or from Ireland or from New Zealand or from New York or California. You just don't know how much it meant to me, and you just don't know how much it meant to Mr. Faust, because we had some tough days in court where we would leave, and the next morning Mr. Faust would come in talking about you all. And he asked me about you specifically, Melanie, about 3 times. Do you know this lady named Melanie? Do you know Melanie? Do you know Melanie? But you all are amazing. My wife, the reason I wanted to do an interview with you, my wife spoke she spoke extremely highly of you and all the cupcakes, the comments. She would share some of the comments with me.
Yeah.
So I thank you. But this is a journey that is just beginning for Mr. Faust. you know, it's really hard to accept thank yous and praises and things of that nature, because the most important thing to me as an advocate is Mr. Faust. And I wish he was home with his family, right? I think
we do too.
he was telling me about his first meal. He was going to get some lemon pepper chicken wings when he got out. That was his plan, because he thought he was going home. He said, you know,
we thought he was going home too. We really did. I mean, it was a real blow to everyone here. We cried. I mean, we were all crying. Everyone was crying.
It was tragic, but there are some huge issues for appeal. There are some major issues for appeal. I do believe, and again, it's just my opinion, that with the right counsel, Mr. Faust will get a new trial. You would absolutely get a new
How much
trial.
money do we need to raise to retain Brian Steele and get him on this case? What's the goal? What do we got to do?
So I've shared that with the family. I
Okay.
have shared it with the family. I'm not sure that I could share the exact amount.
Okay,
of the
just
legal
keep
fees.
donating, everyone. Keep donating.
Correct. But I can say this. It doesn't have to be the entire 225 to get him started.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Cool.
Does that
But
make-
I mean, I'm telling, printing is so expensive. Just the appellate briefs alone, the printing costs are tens of thousands. The trial transcripts, tens of thousands. All of it costs money, and it's an hourly rate, and there's a team involved. And if you get what you pay for, if you want the best, it's going to cost money. So
Right. And I think the beautiful thing about this, if Mr. Faust, if he is able to get a new trial, everyone could know they played a part in, and this may be the wrong term, but I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna be blunt. We all know how To Kill a Mockingbird ends, right? Gentleman ends up dying. This could be a situation where, because of you all, because of the public, Mr. Faust could get new life.
a new life.
New
We're here for
life,
it.
y'all. New
Thank you so much for joining me today. It was every time you got up and you introduced yourself to a witness and you said, my name is Maud Crews, and it is my honor and privilege to be here representing the defendant, Edric Fost, today.
You know, that's what Mr. Steele always
just-
say, y'all.
Brought a tear to everyone's eye because you really meant it.
Absolutely, from the bottom of my heart. From the bottom of my heart.
Thank you so much. We hope to be celebrating one day with you. I know this process takes years, but we're here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And again, I want to thank all the cupcakes for just all the support. And if you need me, Attorney Little, I am here.
Tell us how people can reach you if they need an attorney, and what counties you practice in.
So I cover the entire state of Georgia, federally as well, Georgia. You can call the office, 404-250-3285. You can look me up on Google, pull up our website, Ahmad Crews. But I will say this, the verdict in Mr. Faust case has taken a lot out of me. So as of right now, you know, I'm not taking cases at this moment. I think we've discussed maybe next week, just giving me time to kind of wrap my mind around it, because it's truly soul crushing. It is, this pain is like no other. It's truly soul crushing for Mr. Faust as well as myself. But if you need me, you know, just give me some time to process this, but I am available.
I will link all that information. I'll link all that information in the show notes below. And you know, just know from us watching from the outside, you did everything you could with everything you had. And it is no reflection, sir, on your work, counselor, because you were the most fierce, most zealous advocate for any client that I've ever had the privilege of watching on my TV.
That means the world to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
We'll see you
Take
soon.
care.
All
See you
right.
soon.
Shout out
Bye-bye.
to Mel on a great interview, y'all. Shout out to Mel on a great interview. Now, back to my question that I asked you guys earlier. Back to my question. Could someone please answer that question for me? The question that I asked you guys. The question was, why can we see and hear the same exact thing, but it's not taken the same way? Can someone answer that question? Why can we see and hear the same exact thing, but it's not taken the same way? Can someone tell me why? I can put the link in there. You guys can answer that question. PPI, interpret differently. Past experience, current experience, and past emotions. Okay. Okay. Because that's the question I wanted to ask in regard to the trial we just saw with Mr. Faust. How a whole 12 jurors, and then you have millions of people watching on the internet, and when they did a poll, and 90% said not guilty, and then you have the 12 jurors all voting guilty. And we all saw the same thing. Well, they saw a little bit more than you guys, because they were inside the courtroom. Hey, Danny. It's a broad question, but it's all about the way the person's brain is wired. Everyone interprets it different, I guess. Okay. Past experience. All right, we are 863, y'all. Come on, y'all. You know, we're almost there. We're almost there. Thank you for that $100. Somebody just put in $100. Let me see all the ones that has donated the past couple of minutes. Let's go see. Hold on. It would take a verdict with a grain of salt. Okay. Definitely miscommunication. Perfect. Yeah. Miscommunication. Yeah. And I agree with your past experience. Your experience tells you something different. Personal emotional stability they can handle or can't handle situation. Okay. All right. Culture and environment as well, right? Because most of them live in that area, and most of us that was watching it on the internet don't live in that particular culture in that area, so we would see things totally different from them. I mean, we would understand certain things differently from them. A lot of time, it's in a group setting, people will group think. Okay. Inability to stand on their own belief and value or lack thereof. Okay. Good answer, y'all. Good answer. It's good answer. All right, y'all. We almost there. We got to get 100 and something more now, right? I wanted to stay on before so we can get to that point. $137 more. Can we get $137 before we get out of here? Can we get $137? Cat William, and they did a lot. We were trying to get at least 2,000. We got 1,000 and something. Come on, y'all. Let's come on. Dig in there. Dig in that pocket. Let's see. How much do we have now? Hey, Sharon. What's up, chat? Let's come to clutch again, chat. Let's do this, y'all. Let's see if everybody could give at least $5. It's 57 folks up in here, guys. Do y'all think I can get that $137? Think we can do it. We can clutch it like they did Melon. Y'all made Cat's jobs seem so easy earlier. Every little bit helped, exactly. Because he has to get to 150,000, y'all. That's what the family said. He got to get to for that appeals to really start. Come on, y'all. We got to get that money in there. What we got? Where we up to now? Is it the same amount, folks? The ones that's checking for me? Oh, it hasn't moved. We haven't moved the dial yet, y'all. Thank you, anonymous giver that gave that $100 earlier. Thank you, Patricia Bryan, for your $25 earlier. Anonymous giver, thank you for 10. Anonymous giver for the 25. Shakay Allen, thank you for the 300. Anonymous giver, thank you for the 45. Tyra Davis, thank you for 25. Thank you, Justice, thank you for 100. Anonymous giver, $50. Lori Carey, thank you for 25, which is a Cupcake Crusader. Thank you so much. Anonymous, thank you for $7. Anonymous, thank you for $20. Mr. Fritz, thank you for $50. And Jen, thank you for $5. Tiara, thank you for $10. Anonymous giver, thank you for $20. Anonymous giver, thank you for 10. Second Chance, thank you for $20. Anonymous giver, thank you for $30. Anonymous giver, thank you for $30. Let's see. All right, let's see what we're up to. Let's see what our numbers look like. Did we get it in there, y'all? Did we get it in? Did we get it in? Ooh, we still have not moved, and I'm about to get off. Do you think we can get it? Do you think we can get it? I was trying to get to that 35,000. We're still there. We're still stuck. We're still at the same. Well, I guess we didn't make our numbers. Oh, well. Thank you for everybody who did give, because I can't stay on here all night trying to beg. I am not begging. Success is great that everyday hardworking people are striving to save a starfish. I just wonder what our celebrities and rich people are thinking or donating. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's a hard time for some of us, y'all. Derek said, everything in life is that way. We have two major political parties that cannot agree on anything. Yeah, that's true. That's true. We're still the same number. We're at the same number. 10:08. We're still at the same amount. Let's see. Oh, great job. Somebody just donated. Okay, let's see where we at now. Hold on. We need $117. $117. That's how much we need, y'all. $117. Can we get that $117? Can we get it? Can we get $117? Can we get that? Can we get it? Can we get the $117? Who just gave that last one? Shout out to J.C. Judd. Thank you for $10. Thank you, anonymous giver, for the $10. Continue to stand strong. God has you covered. Amen. Anybody else want to give tonight? Come on, y'all. Thank you so much, y'all. Thank you for your generosity. May God bless you, give you back 1,000 folds of what you have given into this young man's life. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. Let's see what we got. Let's see where we're at. Ooh, we did it! Ooh, thank you, anonymous giver, for the 137. We got it. Thank you, that person that gave 137. We are over the amount. We had $35,020. That's where we left off. Yeah. Yay! Thank you so much, guys. We did it. I'm about to get off now because then somebody be trying to get us to do another goal. But thank you, guys. Thank you so much for the anonymous giver. May God bless you 1,000 folds of what you have given. When am I coming back? Danny never want me to get off these lives. Danny never wants me to get off these lives. Why you guys always want me to stay in here? Oh my God. I know me. I don't like, okay, I got 5 minutes. I can stay on here 5 minutes. Everybody's a real MVP. You guys are the bomb. I tell you, you guys are the bomb. You guys are a wonderful, wonderful individual. Sunshine, I don't think I do well. Now, Kat did her thing earlier, y'all. Kat did her, but Kat also cheated. She had the attorney on there. They had the attorney on there, so they had an advantage. We was on here just nilly-willing it by ourselves. She had the attorney on there. And the attorney was going to answer a question that they got a certain amount, so they cheated on us. They cheated on us, so we did it without any help. We did it without any help. We did it on the own strength of the people. We didn't have a crews up in here to beat. But you guys did great. Thank you so much. We raised over right. Nikki, we did it by ourselves, right? We did it by ourselves. We didn't have a cheating help. Oh, and we're still doing it. Look, we have $40, another $20 somebody gave. Trisha, thank you. Thank you, Trisha. We're doing that thing, y'all. We good. We doing good. You guys are the bomb. Thank you. Thank you so much for your blessing. Getting the numbers up there. They left us with $33,526. Now we're at $35,040. $35,040. That's where we left off. So we got to keep doing these fundraising. I want us to get to 150,000 so they can have the appeal stuff going, because that's what get the appeal started and has Mr. Steele sign on. So, you know what? Let's have a conversation for a second, okay? Let's have a conversation. I'm not trying to be that angry. Tell them, Sylvia, you aren't new to. It's true to it. Exactly. I want to have a heart to heart with you guys about something, okay? And I'm not going to try to be the angry Black woman in this at all. But I saw a couple of people in Kat's chat just throwing shade at me. One person said I started the rumor with the plumbing stuff being taken out of the sink. No, I want to talk for a minute. Me starting the rumor of the plumbing thing taken apart, right? Why is it when something is negative, something is like wrong? Because I don't get things right all the time, and I'm human. And And y'all know the information doesn't come directly from me because I don't know anything about the case. I'm just getting information from the people on the ground, right? So when I get something, sometimes I don't verify certain things because I don't have time to really verify it. And so when I played that video, and then I also mentioned to you guys what I learned from the individuals, from family members who are on the ground, who tells us certain things. And the only thing I do is share, right? And then I'll give you information where I got it from, right? Some things I don't share the exact person's name and stuff because I like to give them anonymity, right? But as soon as they see something as incorrect, they're ready to just tear me apart. Because I saw them just tearing me apart in the chat, y'all. I was like, dang. But then they always running up in here to get my information, right? Just like when I said Steele is going to be on the thing. First of all, I'm calling those things as if they were, because that's what the Bible tells us to do, right? Count them as if they are. If you talk in the positive sense, you talk in the sense of that it is there, right? I want Mr. Steele to be on the appeal thing. And when I heard his name being agreed to get on there, I said he's on there. I mean, if he's agreeing to be on there, right? I'm like, okay, he's going to be on there. What's wrong with me saying that? But then they were trying to dog me out, trying to say, oh, Sylvia got it wrong again. Okay. And then why are you coming in my chat to get the information then if I got it wrong again? Don't y'all agree with me? Somebody give me a yep in the chat. Give me a yep in the chat. But then when they getting stuff from me for real stuff, right? When it's questionable, they don't want to give me the credit, right? When it's questionable. But when it's factual, they don't give me the credit. They take the credit from me. Y'all get what I'm saying? They'll never give credit where actually they got the information from me. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm going to give you an example. Let me give you an example. Before anybody knew that Mariah the scientist was in the courtroom, I knew it, right? And then I sent a picture to somebody. They took my picture. Well, I didn't give it to them. I put it on my thing. They took my picture, not giving my picture the credit that belonged to me, right? And then that's when they started saying that Mariah scientist was in the courtroom. Never gave me the credit, right? But had I was wrong, say I took a picture of the wrong person and put it out, then they'd be like, oh, Sylvia got it wrong. You get what I'm saying? Anytime where they gotta try to prove me wrong, or I didn't get it fully the right way, they always go, oh, I heard that from Sylvia. Oh, Sylvia got it wrong again. Yeah, I heard the rumor came from Sylvia. That's what they were all in the cat's chat was like, with the whole sync thing, they were like putting it on me. I'm like, wait a minute, I played Mr. Hardy's live about it. And then I said, yes, somebody had already told me that. But, oh, the rumor came from Sylvia. Okay. It is the strangest thing, y'all. The strangest thing. For some strange reason, they just love to hate on me. But then I looked at, they hate on Melanie too. So I was like, okay, I'm cool. I'm among the greats because they hated on Crews too. They hated on him when he was. You didn't stop, but they put it, Pretty Princess. They put it on me. I appreciate everyone that support our family. Our hearts and feelings go out to all of you. Thank you, Sylvia, for your coverage. We appreciate you deeply. Oh, thank you, Yates. Thank you. And may God bless your family and all the stuff that y'all going through. God's got you. God's got you. God's got you. Don't worry about it. I live in Athens. You didn't. Thank you, Pretty. But they try to put it on me. They said the rumor came from me. They said the rumor came from me. That's what they said. They said it came from Sylvia. Sylvia started the rumor. That's what they said. They said I started it. But you know what? I just take it. They spread it so that they're guilty by association. But they try to act like it was me that put that rumor out there. But for some strange reason, they get in these chats and that. I mean, when I was watching Law and Crime, I was like, dang. I'm like, why these people hate me so much? Because it kind of crack you up after a while. It's like, okay, you get into a chat just to talk about me. Oh, okay, all right. But anyway, but guys, don't forget to, let's see what the donation look like now. Hold on a second. Let's see what we got right now. Let's see. We still at $35,040. I thought we were gonna get to $100, but okay. I never got a Law and Crime. They are messy over there. Yeah, they're crazy. There's so many hateful people in this world that you just don't realize it. And you know what they do to hide behind the internet? And they hate so much. You get behind the internet and they hate so much. I wonder what they're going to do about that. Just like people that contact me about the juror, and I told you one juror actually I talked to myself who didn't make it on a jury, but he was a potential juror, right? And then I told you what he said to me about the other juror that got on there that he knew Edric. And I'm standing by what I said on that. They could blame me all they want, but I'm gonna stand on by what I said on that, because even Mr. Crews, remember I told you how many persons they said that was at the jury thing? I told you it was around 70, right? The guy said it was 70 something people, and about 20 of them was African American. Yeah. And he said he didn't get on there because he's related to Edric. He said it. And I'm going to stand by it. That's not a rumor. This person actually was a jury person. Well, prospective jury person. He has his jury notification that he got. He sat in that room. And when he went up there, he said he can't do it because he's related to him. Yeah, we gotta get this money going for real. And I know half of us are struggling. And it's rough. It's rough right now financially for a lot of people. But we can do this. We all come together as a group. It's supposed to be a jury of peers, but there's a lot of peers who are restricted to serve on jury duty. So is that fair? No. Daddy says 50 whites and 20 blacks. He says around 20 blacks. But it was only 4 blacks that was actually on the jury, and then out of the 4, only 2 were chosen for the deliberation jury. The other one was 2 blacks were alternate. They got rid of them two women. Yeah. And remember, Crews said that there was no representation from the area that Crews came from. It was from the other side. And then they were trying to get, a lot of Athens, the college people off of it, and they end up getting a whole bunch of them on there. This whole justice system sucks. Once in a while they get it right. Once in a while they get it right. But so far, every single cold case that I have covered, each one of them has been Black person that they have charged, and each Black person have been convicted. Each Black person has been convicted of the cold cases I've seen. And I've done 4. Well, one is not, let's not count that one yet because we don't know. One of them hasn't been gone to trial yet. Why was the story about Mr. Faust throwing a cell phone on his ex on a cruise ship allowed on record in the victim impact? I don't know. We need some major fundraising idea. Yes, pretty Tony, you're absolutely right. We need some fundraising ideas. Yes, we do. We need some fundraising ideas. Don't we have like giveaways and stuff like that? Winning some meals or something. I don't know, some giveaways for fundraising. Winning tickets, something. He said what tonight? Oh, you're talking about the wasn't it? Oh, it's at 30. Oh, we get to $100. Good job, y'all. Thank you, Serena. Serena was checking for us. Let's see who gave. Let me see who gave. Hold on. Let me see who gave. All right. Let's see. Thank you, anonymous giver who gave $50. Thank you, Hibiscus Lime, for $25. Thank you for anonymous givers for $40. Okay, Trisha, we already read your giving already. So we at 155, 35,155. Woo! You guys are the bomb, tickety bomb. What's the next trial I'm covering? I'm covering the one with Mr. Steele. I'm covering Mr. Steele's trial. I'm trying to go back to New York to for Diddy's thing. I probably won't go because it's a little bit too far for 10 minutes each. 10 minutes each and too far. I don't know about that. Which, by the way, was a big fat lie. Yeah, about the pistol whipping. Yeah, you're right. Because it's the sister the sister to the ex-wife, I think ex-wife, said if he would have did that to her sister, it would be some problem, I guess. It would be some problem if that actually happened. You said, I know personally. The victim didn't say he threw a cell phone. She said he pistol whipped his wife on the cruise ship, which is not true. What's up with Cecil? TT Diva? Why you always bringing up other cases in here? Diva. We don't know what's up with Cecil because we can't listen to the calls anymore. No more calls. So Cecil's... Oh, but you know what? Let me go look on the system. Hold on. Let's see what's going on. I think his next court day is March 11th. Let me see. Next court date for Cecil. God, it's so cold in my house. Oh, they doing some main apex. Please remove the main apex address. If you have sought, please remove. Oh my God. Come on now. All right, here we go. Let's see what Cecil's thing says. Oh my God, this thing keeps saying error, error. Okay, here we go. Cecil McCrary. M. Let's see. Superior Court search. Let's see what Cecil's. Okay, it keeps hitting the error here. I don't know why it keeps showing an error. All right, here we go. Cecil. All right, let's see next court date. The 11th. The 11th of March is his next court date. And it's a non-jury. It's a yeah. Yeah. March 11th is next court date. And that's it. March 11th. Okay, just checking. Are you going to go to his court date? Of course I'm going. Are you covering Colin Gray trial? I should try. I should tomorrow, right? I should start covering it. Yeah, I think I should cover it tomorrow. I was gonna go down to Winder, and you know what? I think I am gonna take a trip to Winder tomorrow. But you know what? I gotta work. I gotta do some sparks, y'all. I gotta do some sparks. I gotta pay some bills. You know what I'm saying? I gotta pay some bills. So I'll probably do like recap online. I won't go down to Winder. I gotta pay bills, y'all. Yeah, I gotta pay some bills. Sorry, guys. That's why I only come on once a day now, because I got bills to pay. I got bills to pay. Take care of home first. Absolutely, TT. Gotta take care of home. Then I come on in the evening and give you guys what I got. Yeah, I had to I gave my donation. I gave 2 donations to this to support the funding, what do you call this? What do you call this fund here? The appeals fund. Ooh, we had 35 to 30, y'all. You guys are the bomb diggly. Let's see who was the one that gave on this one. Hold on. Let's see who gave. I like to give you guys a shout out. Let me give you a shout out who gave. Oh, anonymous giver. Anonymous giver gave. Oh, shout out to Shawanda Wingfield for $75. She said, Edric, I'm standing with you till the wheels fall off. And after it fall off, I'll walk beside you. What I witnessed take place was an evil cover-up. I've said this since day one. I stand on this. You are coming out of there. My sincerest prayer are with you, Attorney Amon Crews. Thank you for your public showing dedication, love of Edric. God is able. Amen. We're going to like that one. Amen. I'm hitting my like on those. Y'all make sure y'all like these people's giving, okay? Edric, are you 100% here's to help in any way I can, fighting for you. Cupcake did that. A cupcake. Cupcakes people are still giving. Thank you, cupcakers. Cupcakers. All right, I'm liking all the ones that are okay. All right, I liked all my people's for it. You guys are rocking it. Amen. Pretty Tony. All right. Guys, don't just keep on giving whatever you can, even if it's $1, whatever you're able to give. God knows your heart, and He's gonna work everything out. He's gonna work everything out. And we know it's already done. It's already done. That's why I said steel is on it, right? I'm calling those things as if they were. Amen. That's what the Bible said, to call those things as if they are. And we're saying He is coming out. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, we got 200. Okay, they doing it up in here. Hold on a second. Folks are just giving and giving and giving. Look at God. Hold on. Let's see. Who just gave this next one? Roxy. Roxy says, sending a heartfelt prayer in support for Mr. Faust. May God comfort you during the time. And to Mr. Crews, you have such a humbling passion and resounded that entire trial. Keep your head up and may your office grow tenfold in success. Amen, amen, amen. Okay, we're going to like that one. We're going to give it a heart. Thank you for your $25. I appreciate it. Okay, we doing this thing tonight. Speak right into existence. Exactly. Amen. All right, we got this. Hey, Kendra. Y'all, shout out to Kendra. Kendra is the one that had me to even look at this case, and had me to contact go into attorney Melanie's chat. So shout out to Kendra. Shout out to Kendra for that. Thank you, Kendra. Some of you guys be just putting me on a lot of different things. So it was Kendra that helped me to even look into this case. Shout out to Kendra. Yeah, let me tell you what's going on in this household. Okay. I have a child, a daughter, an adult daughter, who likes things cold. And me, I like to be warm, okay? Let me tell you. We've been fighting over this heat in this house, okay? She turns my heat off, right? Because, the thermostat is not thermostat, the thermostat is in my room. And I look and she turns it off. I turn it on. She's like, Ma, it's hot in here. I said, go take some clothes off. She says, well, go put some blankets on. So, guys, I'm fighting with this child with this heat. I don't want to sleep in an electric blanket because I get too hot. And then it feels like it's burning my skin. Remember, I'm diabetic, so anything like on my skin, it hurts my nerves. Get what I'm saying? Anybody got a solution up here? Because right now I'm cold. She got this heat on 69. 69. I'm cold. Then I get a whole bunch of blankets on, right? And I'll be so hot, and I get up and I'm sweating. That'll make me catch a cold. You still got your AC on? Oh my God, you as bad as Dallas. Oh Lord have mercy. You are as bad as Dallas. I can't live with people that don't like heat. Tell Dallas to close the vent in her room. Thank you, Kim. I sleep with a dog. Why I gotta get a small heater? Oh, yeah, I'm gonna go close her vent. Yeah, because I don't like being cold, y'all. I'm cold right now. I put on a sweater or something. Maybe she should close the vent. Me and hubby are going go drink some hot water. Okay, I'll go drink some hot water. I'm gonna drink me some tea tonight and warm myself up. And tomorrow I gotta go pick up my meds, y'all. I don't like being cold, Kim. I cannot. And then now you get older, you get cold quick. It feels like your bone be cold all the time when you get older. That's why I always used to figure out why old people always cold. Now I know. Now I'm old, I'm cold. I'm always cold now. Always cold. Darn, I just finished Cat's Live and wanted to listen to you, Sylvia, but I cannot go back. Susie, you know I do that. Susie, I want you in here with me. I want you to sit up in here with me, Susie. I want you to sit up in here with me. What you want to do? You want to go back to the past. I want you to stay in the present. I want you to stay in the present with me. Susie's too much. Susie don't like being here with us. All right. I'm gonna go so Susie can watch her live. Watch it on her own. But guys, thank you so much. How much did we get up to, Serena? How much did we get up to? How much did we get up to? Okay, we're at 35,255. Okay. Thank you, everybody. You guys have a great night. Love you again. I love you. Thank you for getting us to the point. How much did we made? Hold on. Let's see how much. Because they left off at 33,526. Hold on a second. Let me see. Let's see how much we made. We're 35,255 minus 33,526. Oh, we didn't make 2,000, but we got 1,729. That's how much we made in here. 1,729. Good job, y'all. Give yourself a hand. We didn't make 2,000, but we did $1,729. Great job. All right. Next time we'll do better. Good night, everybody. Love y'all. Bye. Mucho dinero. Yeah, exactly, Susie. Bye, y'all. Exactly. We didn't have a lot of people in here. We only had a small group of people, and we did good. They had over 8 and 1,000 and stuff. We only had like most we had in this chat was 70 people. So we did good. We did good for about 70 folks in our chat. That's right. We did good. Good job, y'all. High five, y'all. High five. You guys awesome. You guys rock. Y'all the best. Bye, y'all. Later.
Thank you for watching the infamous Sylvia channel, where laughter and fun make up our panel. Together we build this digital this online space. It's just you and me, we laugh until tears roll down like the rain. In this virtual world, you ease all my pains. We're family, not just a show. Every click and comment makes us grow. Mods and chat, keeping the vibe so right. Together we shine like stars in the night. We cherish the moments, the highs and lows, from the latest gossip to stories untold. You're more than a viewer, you're part of the crew in this space of ours. It's all because of you. This digital world where emotion is shared, every post and reaction showing we care. The love is real in this virtual domain. With every sign, enjoys what we'll gain. We're a family, not just a show. Every click and comment makes us grow. Mods and chat, keeping the vibe so right. Together we shine like stars in the night. We're a family, not just a show. Every click and comment makes us grow. Mods and chat, keeping the vibe so right. Together we shine like stars in the night. This digital world where emotion is shared, every post and reaction showing we care. The love is real in this virtual domain. With every sign, enjoys what we'll gain. We're a family, not just a show. Every click and comment makes us grow. Mods and chat, keeping the vibe so right. Together we shine like stars in the